Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Newly appointed Minister of Communications pays a visit to the offices of the Government Information Services Limited. The Health Minister is urging men in society to know their status and get tested for the HIV virus. And Nabi Muradali sworn in as San Fernando Mayor. Thank you for joining us to our top story. Health Minister Dr. The Honorable Fuad Khan is urging men in society to know their status and get tested for the HIV virus. He says the statistics which show that there are more women who are HIV positive than the number of men may not necessarily be accurate, since generally there are more women who get tested than men. He spoke at the World Testing Day on the Brown Lara Promenade, where scores of persons came forward to get free rapid testing.
Men are very reluctant to undergo testing. So women tend to go testing quite easily and much more than men. Men on the other hand, as they don't go for testing, they don't know their status. And if they don't know their status, it could spread the HIV virus by not knowing their status, by not taking precautions. Now, when we look at the statistics, you see that women, the HIV status in women per capita, it's greater than men, but when we looked at the figures closely, less men were being tested. So we really and truly don't have proper figures for men as compared to that of women. We decided to make an effort to test men on today.
The unfortunate reality being disclosed by the Health Minister, who says the initiative is one which attempts to encourage men to know their HIV status. He also gave a possible explanation for this apparent reluctance to get tested for the virus.
Men have a habit of not wanting to be tested by doctors, not wanting to know. Men tend to put themselves in a state of denial that I don't want to know. And as a result of that, they don't get tested, which is the fallacy. If I don't get tested and I don't know that I don't have it, which is it's wrong. True. But it's the kind of thinking process that goes into in what they call the denial aspect of one's brain.
Dr. Khan went into detail on the virus and how it works.
HIV, it's a virus. We know it's a virus because it's called a human immunodeficiency virus. It's a little virus called an RNA virus, and it infects once somebody carries it, it infects the person who is not carrying it by a blood-to-blood transmission or secretion-to-secretion transmission. Once it gets in your blood, it attacks what we call the CD4 cells, called the T lymphocyte, which protects you from infection. So it goes into the cell and goes into the DNA of the cell and causes three things to happen. One, replicate its own self. The cell replicates itself and carries the virus gene along itself. Two, it explodes the cell and viruses go all over the place and infect more cells. And three, what we call the CD8 T cells eat the CD4 cells and decrease the immune response.
The HIV virus, according to Dr. Khan, attacks the very cells that fight infection.
HIV virus, which is the virus itself, damages the protective mechanism of your body, which is the CD4 lymphocytes. And in doing so over a period of time, you end up not being able to resist the infection. And that's the whole thing about it. And things that you would normally resist in a normal way, fungus, etc., in your chest, your limbs, your skin, everything else that insults you, you are susceptible to it, and then you could die as a result of it. So what HIV really is it's something that passes on from person to person, decreasing their immune response, and you die from infection.
The health minister is also revealing that the number of reported deaths from the HIV and AIDS virus has decreased over the past few years. He says this is as a result of increased testing and persons being made aware of their HIV status. As a result, the minister is urging persons to get tested and know their HIV status.
It has decreased markedly as compared to about 5 to 10 years ago, because many more people are coming for treatment. I can't give you exact figures, which I try not to, but I can talk about increase and decreases. We've also had a good response to the maternal and child transmission of HIV, and that in itself has been decreasing because of the management structure and the early testing and screening is what we're going through.
Vida Barath, News 4.
Meanwhile, as World Testing Day got on the way, the staff at the Government Information Services Limited were able to be a part of the free rapid testing. Most were quite comfortable in the safety of knowing their status.
I think it's an excellent initiative by GISL for staff to be able to get tested. I think whether you're single or married, it's important to know your status and not feel like it's any stigma attached to going and getting tested, that it's something actually very positive.
I think it's an excellent initiative because if everyone does their part, then we can get rid of the disease and we can get tested here without any stigma being attached. I think that's the most important thing.
Caribbean Testing Day is really an initiative of the Caribbean Media Broadcast CMEP partnership, and they initially started this initiative along with Scotiabank 5 years ago, and then they partnered with respect to with PANCAP to expand this initiative. The initiative started with 5 countries in the Caribbean and it's expanded to about 20 countries now. And so Trinidad and Tobago has been involved in this process for about 3 years. And basically the idea is to increase awareness and to increase HIV testing of our respective nationals across the region. So that's basically where Caribbean Testing Day initiative. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have 39 rapid testing sites that's available to the public to be tested anytime they want for the whole year, and that information is available on our website and on our Facebook page. But during the year, we also have 2 or 3 campaigns that we would have just to kind of go out to get people who haven't been coming into our testing sites, just to give people the additional opportunity for HIV testing.
Know your status. Get tested today. In related news, newly appointed Minister of Communications, the Honorable Jamal Mohammed, paid a visit to the offices of the Government Information Services Limited. He was met by Chief Executive Officer Mr. Andy Johnson, along with other members of the management team. The minister was also privy to the on-location HIV testing held at the compound of GISL.
This is an excellent idea to invite the Ministry of Health to come and assist in this program here to make sure members of staff at GISL are on board and to get the AIDS testing or whatever else they're doing. It's an excellent idea. This is something members of staff for all organizations should try to do. It's a good idea. And we are very happy to be here at GISL to see this facility, which is owned by the government of Fernando and Tobago. And as Minister of Communications, we want to wish all members of staff and everyone here all the best for the future.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us.
I bring a message of peace. P-E-A-C-E. It's about patriotism, environment, and citizenship education. Calling you or youths between the ages of 14 to 20. Become a trainee in the Peace Program nationwide.
Just 6 weeks of peace training starting 9 July.
Come join us 2 days a week.
From 9 to 3.
Over the age of 18.
You want to be an instructor in this program?
Your training starts from the 25th to the 29th of June.
Interested in becoming a trainee or instructor?
You can call us at 625-2652 or 625-9557.
Or visit us online at peaceprogram2012@gov.tt.
The Peace Program.
Promoting patriotic citizenship.
An initiative of the Ministry of National Security for the 50th anniversary of Trinidad and Tobago's independence.
Thank you for staying with us. Attorney General, Senator the Honorable Anand Ramlogan has voiced his support for National Security Minister the Honorable Jack Warner following the demolition of the Highway Rerouters Movement's camp. The Attorney General condemned the actions of the protesters, saying they were committing an illegal act, and Minister Warner did what was necessary. He adds Mr. Warner did what was right for the benefit of the majority of the nation.
I stand here today in full support of the actions taken by the Honorable Minister of National Security, Jack Warner. This matter is of concern to me as Attorney General because projects of this magnitude carry great financial risk, and the risk exposure from a legal liability standpoint when these projects are disrupted and derailed are quite enormous. The ramifications and implications of the protesters who blocked this highway and prevented further work from being done on it are deep-seated and quite dire. We would have been put in a very precarious legal position had something not been done to deal with that matter in an effective and decisive and firm manner.
Attorney General Anand Ramlogan says Works Minister Jack Warner did not make a decision in the demolition of the highway reroute movement camp without considering the entire picture. He says he too was concerned about the protesters' actions leading up to the demolition of their camp.
Minister Warner did not act in a vacuum in this matter, you know. I, as Attorney General, have been expressing grave consternation and concern about this matter because of the legal ramifications and implications in this matter. It cannot be that people could just get to gather around, decide to pitch a tent on state lands, call two baba, put up 3 jandi, and then say the land is consecrated, you can't touch me, and put on that song in the back. Can't touch this. Can't do that. It can't work. That is lawlessness of the highest order. And more than that, the invisible price tag for the taxpayers of this country would run into hundreds of millions of dollars because litigation was in the making.
The AG says, further to this, Minister Warner's actions have saved the country hundreds of millions of dollars. He charged the protesters for almost forcing the state to spend money in litigation that could have been spent to provide better conditions to citizens.
I express grave concern and have been calling for action in this matter to protect the legal position of the state, lest it be eroded and compromised any further on the altar of political expediency. And it was for those reasons I, even before Mr. Warner did to take action in this matter, I've been expressing grave concerns to the relevant ministers in this matter, and I'm very happy, therefore, that we've taken action. Look, let me put it this way. Even if that matter were to go to court, the compensation will be minuscule as compared to what the country would have had to pay out, which would have been hundreds of millions of dollars to OAS. And the reality is, when you pay out that money, that means you have hundreds of millions of dollars less to complete the Kuva Children's Hospital, to buy laptops for the children in school, and to put beds in hospitals for people to actually lie down on when they're sick, ill, or pregnant to make a child. And those are the raw facts.
Also voicing his support for Minister Warner is the Housing Minister and MP for Oropouche East, Dr. the Honorable Rudal Munilal. Dr. Munilal commends Mr. Warner for how he dealt with the matter. He says while he supports people's rights to various freedoms, he also supports the rule of law.
I want again to express my commendation to Minister Warner and the Minister of State, the Honorable Colin Partap, for their maturity and their professionalism and sensitivity in handling what would have been a difficult situation at Debe. I also want to re-emphasize and endorse the commitment of the government to the rule of law, as the Attorney General did, and to indicate that as a government we are in full support of the right to freedom of expression, the right to assembly. Many of us who are in government now have participated over the years in struggles, in marches, in demonstrations, and so on. We support the right to expression. We support the right to assembly, but we also support the rule of law. And we believe that all that protest activity should be conducted within the confines of the law. To do otherwise would lead to a state of anarchy, a state of chaos.
Meanwhile, Minister Warner defends himself, saying any sort of national infrastructural work will affect citizens. However, he laments that this project benefits the majority of citizens in that area.
Any highway, let me say it early, any highway we should build anywhere, at any time, will affect some persons. Our role, therefore, is to, as far as possible, mitigate the disaffection which people will feel and to make sure that they are compensated properly. 2 considerations which this government has pledged to do. Because of the fact that we realize that the highway, when completed, would provide an efficient and I should say a pleasing way for people to travel to the south. We know that traffic congestion would be reduced, especially Pinal, Debe, Siparia. We know that even the life cycle costs the lifetime cost of people motor vehicles, that we shall be reduced. We know also too you'll have better access to Superior, to Point Forte and Labrie, and in fact, that will help in the economic growth of these villages along the way.
Mr. Warner says he acted with expediency as the movement was hindering the progress of the highway and causing millions of dollars in wastage of government funds. He says discussions on the movement of the highway had occurred and it was now time to move forward.
When I called Mr. George and asked him about the pace of the highway, he was quick to assure me that he needed that like yesterday. I said, therefore, in the light of that, it was best that we go and tackle it once and for all. Having discussed this at length with all the members of the highway routers, having discussed it at length with Dr. Ganga Singh himself, in spite of the threats he made to me from time to time, the abuse and so on, I felt that this was the best thing for us to do, get on with the highway, and in that context, therefore, what happened yesterday happened.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
More news after the break. Stay with us.
Hello, ever thought of cutting your TSTT business landline costs? It's simply a smart choice to make, only from Blink. One fixed monthly rate for bundled local minutes, bundled mobile minutes, bundled international minutes, and many free calling features. All wrapped up to save you a bundle. Smart choice, only from Blink. A bundle of joy.
Welcome back. Minister of the Environment and Water Resources Ganga Singh took office by saying he intends to seek complete protection of the environment and this nation's waterways in every way. He was speaking as he received his environment portfolio from Housing Minister Dr. the Honorable Rudal Munilal. The minister is one of the latest ministers to receive an appointment from Prime Minister the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar as part of her reconfiguration of the cabinet.
Newly appointed Minister of the Environment and Water Resources Ganga Singh is expressing optimism and excitement in fulfilling his role as Minister. In receiving the handing over of the environment portfolio from his predecessor, Minister of Housing Dr. Rudal Munilal, Minister Singh said carrying on the mantle in securing the environment was something he held dear to his heart.
Government is a continuity, and that therefore this continuum will continue with us, and that therefore the good work that they have done in the legislation and policy areas, for example in the beverage container bill, air pollution rules, noise pollution, areas of the forestry authority, those are all areas that we intend to continue.
Housing Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal, in welcoming the minister into the cabinet, expressed confidence in the difference his successor would make in the ministry.
We are very optimistic about the sector and what will happen in the coming days and coming months. We will share with them in a few moments some of the issues and introduce some of our technical people who are here. We have representatives of various environmental agencies and divisions that will now clearly be under the Ministry of the Environment.
Minister Singh says this ministry was a unique one to the region, as it was one of the few that saw the importance of preserving the environment for future generations.
This Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources is unique to this part of the hemisphere. It speaks about the intimate linkage between man, anthropogenic, water, which is essential, and the earth, the environment. And it is that kind of philosophical framework that ensures that we have that continuous loop completed. So from the time of the rain falls on the watershed areas, we take ownership of it throughout to ensure that it enters the irrigation system, as it enters the water catchment areas, and as it reaches the coastal area. We take management of our water resources totally, and we take and we utilize the environment to preserve that for future generations.
Minister Singh will be joined by Minister in the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, the Honourable Ramona Ramdial. Kimberly Ram-Calawan, News 4.
The highly anticipated live sport program got going in earnest this week with workshops in cricket and football being conducted. A battery of former national stars in both disciplines make up the coaching panels, and getting this knowledgeable team together was the task of the implementation committee chaired by Forbes Prasad. Wayne Cunningham caught up with the well-respected sports administrator and got his views on the program.
The implementation committee assembled by the Ministry of Sport for the Live Sport program is a formidable one headed by Mr. Forbes Prasad. He gave us an insight into his team as well as its objectives.
We are using the medium of cricket, basketball and football along with life skill aspect to really steer these guys into the correct direction. Getting the team together, we looked at people who had experience in the holistic development of young people. For instance, while I was at the cricket board, our high performance centers that we conducted, we used cricket as a means to develop the youngsters holistically. And we also had a life skill aspect in the program. So people like William Wallace, who was the coordinator of that program were in the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board. He's one of the key people who is with me on this implementation committee.
The well-known cricket administrator is confident about the longevity of the program.
Yes, there is scope for the program moving beyond the 2 years, because the program is not geared merely to be some sort of crash course, but we are using it so that the young people can become trained in different skills, plumbing, welding, and so on. Even those who may be academically inclined, we would look to place them into UTT or COSTAT and these places.
William Wallace is a multidisciplined sports administrator. As a former member of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board and manager of the National Under-23 football team, his experience is surely an asset to live sport.
My experience is with young people. All my life it has been with young people and the development of young people in Trinidad and Tobago. I know that if we don't pay attention to our young people, we have a very dark future. And my life is dedicated to that. It has, at school, I'm a teacher. So in my discipline, I do that every day. So it's a natural transformation from one thing to the other. It's almost like a smooth transition. And using a medium that I love, which is sport, as the carrot on the stick to get our young people interested in something. But not just that. Intrinsic in the program is changing behavior. And our life skill program and the other supporting programs that we have in this life sport, that to me would be the greatest achievement once we can change those young people's lives and turn it around.
By mid-July, the program will be in full swing in 33 communities nationwide, with approximately 60 participants at each venue undergoing training in various sporting disciplines, as well as life skills. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
As we wrap up, the city of San Fernando got a new mayor today. Dr. Navi Muradali was sworn in as the southern city's 7th mayor after his predecessor, Marlene Kudre, took up the post as Minister of Gender, Youth and Child Development. In receiving his appointment, Mayor Muradali said during his tenure as mayor, he intends to kickstart the water fraud development project before 2012.
I, Navi Muradali, having succeeded the former mayor of the city of San Fernando in accordance with Section 21(4) of the Municipal Corporations Act 1990, do hereby declare that I take said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfill the duties thereof, according to the best of my judgment and ability, and declare that I am qualified as follows. I am a citizen of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
It's this pledge of a brighter future San Fernandans can look forward to under the leadership of Dr. Navi Muradali, as he says change is going to come as he seeks to bring the corporation closer to the people. Promising words from the new mayor of the city of San Fernando, Dr. Navi Muradali, as he took his oath of office.
Within the next 2 weeks to deal with these major events, I want to appeal to all San Fernandians to recommit yourself to the city, to work hand in hand with us to reconnect the city and yourself. You must reconnect the City Council and the corporation. To reconnect with us, we must begin a Meet the City tour in each of the 9 districts, starting next week, where we would continue to listen to our residents and address their most urgent concerns. We will listen more than we speak.
Dr. Muradali says he intends to address several pressing matters in cleaning up the city, in addition to returning San Fernando to its cultural heritage.
I want to see San Fernando as a southern beauty, and we are not the second city, we are the southern city in this country. People must not say we are the second city, we are the southern city, and we want to achieve the status as being as the southern beauty.
One of the first things on the mayor's agenda is the creation and development of the San Fernando waterfront and boardwalk, which has been on the cards for some time now. Mayor Muradali says it's part of the transformation of San Fernando into a green city.
We are going to definitely start the boardwalk project, which is a component of the waterfront development plan for the wharf. And secondly, we must make San Fernando a green city.
Dr. Muradali takes his post as the 7th mayor since San Fernando became a city in 1988. Under his tenure as mayor, Dr. Muradali will oversee a population of approximately 60,000 citizens. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.